And now, Coach, we're going to turn it back over to you because it's time to find out the latest installment of Tripp's Top 10. I almost messed that up. Tripp's Top 10.
Either way is great. All right. So again, just a refresher, I'm trying to look at body of work from just this season, notwithstanding necessarily where they were ranked when they started, just what they've done, what their body of work is. So some of the stuff is you'll see is pretty consistent, but some of it is a little off. So here we go. Number 10, I've got the Clemson Tigers. Okay, sitting at 10-0. They had the win against Bama. We already talked about the two undefeated, South Carolina and TCU. So I have them sitting at number 10 with that 10-0 mark. Number 9, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners sitting at 9-0. Their best win over then. I know I just said 23 was Bama, but obviously these rankings change. Number 23 USC team. So that's my number 9. My only number 8, my only team with 2 losses in this top. No, it's not true. I've got 2 of them. It's Carolina, 7-2. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased to them, but they've got wins over number 10 Tennessee, number 20 Arkansas, and one of their losses was number 5 UConn. So yeah, and they're playing pretty well right now. I've got them sitting at number 8. They do have the 2 losses, but one of them's to UConn, and they've got some I think better quality wins maybe than Oklahoma and Clemson.
I was to say that Arkansas win is something that Duke couldn't do.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you won't see Duke on this list, I promise you that. Not this week. Baylor, the number 7, sitting at 9-0. They're looking really good. Follow that up with another Texas team. I've got Houston sitting at 10-0. Hard to deny how well they're doing. Yeah. So far we've got Clemson, Oklahoma, Carolina, Baylor, and Houston. And number 5, you mentioned them just earlier. I've got Marquette sitting at 8-2 with quality wins over number 23, the Illini, number 1, Kansas, number 12, Texas, and their losses are to Purdue and Wisconsin. So really quality wins. And again, if you can have a good loss, Purdue is it. Mm-hmm. Number 4, I've got UConn sitting at 9-1. Who, man, I mean, Arizona's there, but UConn, I think, when it's all said and done, is definitely going to be making a case. But right now, I got them at number 4. They've got wins at number 9 UNC, number 15 Texas, and their loss is to Kansas, who we'll see a little bit later. So they're really looking solid. I struggled with where to put UConn, and I can't believe I did this because I said I wasn't going to fall for it, but I put Purdue at 3. In hindsight, I should have flipped them, but I'm trying not to drink the Kool-Aid with Purdue because they burn me every year, but they're sitting at 9-1. They've got wins against Gonzaga, which is number 11, number 7, Tennessee, number 4, Maryland. They do have a loss to a win against Marquette, I guess, and a loss to Northwestern. Number 2, I've got Kansas at 9-1. 2 wins versus top 5 teams at the time, UConn, and then also Tennessee, and then number 17, Kentucky, which Kentucky, I'm not sold on them. That's maybe not as good a win as we thought. Mm-hmm. And I think the consensus number 1, if it's not a consensus, it should be, is Arizona, 8-0, 2 wins versus top 25, Duke and Michigan State, which we talked about is really, they don't probably even deserve to be there. But they're playing really good basketball right now. You mentioned earlier Marquette. Obviously, I'm really high on them, but I really think UConn is going to work their way back up. I think they're so talented. So this was not meant to be a slight on them because I think that they're going to be probably in that top 2 or 3 by the end of the season going into the tournament. But just based on, I'm trying to do it on the body of work so far, and I gotta watch myself with that Purdue pick because they burn me every year. But that is my pick. So I think that the top spots are pretty consistent, but I think, kind of 8, 9, and 10, maybe a little different, bringing in Clemson, Oklahoma, maybe higher than some. But I mean, I don't think you can argue how well they're playing. They're undefeated. They're beat some ranked teams, beat some undefeated teams. So that is Tripp's Top 10 for this week.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna want to ask you about it a little bit. So not just because of not wanting to buy into the Purdue hype, but is this Arizona team different than the teams that always seem to do so well in the regular season, but then fall apart when they get into either the second round or the Sweet 16 in the tournament. This feels like it's a different year for Arizona, but I think we felt this way in the past, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Arizona is a little bit like that, but it seems like right now that they're on cruise control. I guess the only thing to be wary of is that old adage, and I don't know if it's legitimate or not, but are they peaking too early? But they are definitely setting themselves apart with their style of play, how they're winning, their aggression. So I'm sold on them right now. But if you ask me, would I be surprised if Kansas, UConn ends up ahead of them? I would say no, but I definitely think Arizona is going to be in the mix and probably not be a 1 and 2 and done in the tournament. I do think it does feel different, and I think it is different.
So you said UConn just a slight little bit below Purdue at this point. How close are these? Because it feels like you were even kind of kicking yourself about Purdue being ahead of UConn. Is it just that thin between 2 through 4 or 5?
I think it is really that thin, and man, it's almost a coin flip for me between those two. But I really think 3, 4, and 5. I think you could mix up Purdue, UConn, and Marquette, how they're playing right now, kind of in any order, and I wouldn't argue too much. I don't know that I'd put Marquette at 3 just yet, but I could see them at 4, and I could see UConn at 3. The hard thing would be I don't know that by moving Purdue all the way back to 5, but I think those 3 teams are really close. I think Marquette's a little on the outside looking in right now, but they're playing really well, and so I guess really Purdue and UConn, to your point, it's a razor thin margin, and if they go to play, particularly on a neutral site, I definitely it's a pick 'em. It's not one where I would say, okay, well, Purdue's got this or UConn's got that. I think they're both so talented and so fun to watch. I probably would go and this is more of a bias, I'd probably pick UConn right now, but that's just because I've picked Purdue so many times I feel like I get burned. So that's not very scientific.
All right. Well, last but not least on this discussion, give us a team or two that's just on the outside that you feel has a really good opportunity to climb into that top 10 the next time that we are going to be discussing this when we get to conference play and knee deep in the season come January.
Yeah. 2 teams that could, depending on how things go, would be Gonzaga. And again, we talk every week, every time I'm on. I'm a big Mark Few guy, but I think they're underperformed. But I definitely think they could get in. And I think Florida Atlantic. I think both of those teams could make a case, particularly if we've got these. If Carolina loses again, I could see them on the way out. And then if Clemson or Oklahoma has kind of a bad loss. And then Gonzaga has a good win. They could make that argument, particularly if it's over several games. So those would be the 2, Florida Atlantic and Gonzaga, who I would look for.
And both of them have been in the top 10 at some point earlier this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and the team I would say don't fall for, because their big name is, I don't think Kentucky is very good this year. I say very good. They're top 25, but they're not Kentucky of the past. So, if they get a couple of wins, I would be hesitant to automatically move them in because I don't think they've played Kentucky basketball this year.
They were struggling with A&M Commerce for a good while, and this is not the same level of success that A&M Commerce and Kentucky have had all time. So that's something definitely to keep an eye on. All right, Coach, thanks for the top 10. It's a good one as always. We appreciate it.